I am Mike. I'm here with John and Ken. I think our chat thing is open too. But yeah, they have background music now. So here it is. And then I have, when I go to my choices, I'm sure this is interesting to everybody. Here's the choices they give me: Christmas music, New Year's music, which I didn't even know there was, chill, down tempo, lounge, hip hop, lo-fi, chill hop, ambient, and future pop. All royalty free, which pretty much means it's going to sound like this stuff we have.
So are we? Would you consider us future pop or lo-fi, John?
Oh boy, I don't even know.
I mean, some would call us grandpops, but I don't know about.
Well, yeah. Well, hey,
Yeah.
Hold on, man. I'm not there yet. So, well,
I'm not there either, but I'm saying.
Yeah, let me
In
change
some circles, we're old enough to be grandpops.
Well, that's true. Well, yeah. I mean, that's
And I just realized that I don't know. So I know Mike is the pilot of this thing.
I don't know if I'm the pilot. I consider myself more of the scrappy mechanic that yells at you every time you bring the ship feet up. You know, that archetype that they put on every, like, Airwolf and all those shows. There was always that mechanic that
Uncle Jesse.
Yeah, like the Uncle Jesse's of the.
So does that make John and I Bo and Luke?
Now that sounds about right. I think of you as Han and Chewie. Han, and then John is the hair, so he has to be Chewie.
That's fair.
So, and I don't know where I fall. I would be like Uncle Owen if he wasn't extra crispy. You bring the Falcon back, and I'd be like, oh, I got to take a lawnmower belt from the lawnmower to.
Well, you could be Hondo.
Yeah, there we go. I'll be a Hondo. There. That's pretty much the best compliment I can have. I'll have to work on my Hondo voice.
You pirate, you.
That would be a good buddy cop movie of Hondo and what's his face? Oh man, my mind just went blank. The blue dude that the cowboy.
Cad Bane?
Cad Bane. That'd be a good buddy cop movie. It'd be like Lethal Weapon, Star Wars style. You could see Hondo always be saying, I'm getting too old for this.
Yeah, and Cad Bane's just going around killing people.
Yeah. That'd be the whole show. Hondo would lay out this big plan, and then Cad Bane would just go in and shoot them all. The first 40 minutes of the show would be Cad Bane laying out this big plan, and then the last 5 minutes of every show, it would be Hondo just shooting everyone up and making it dead.
And Hondo has that little, or not Hondo, sorry. Cad Bane has that little droid that hangs around with him. He could be the comic relief.
Yeah,
Photo 360.
Yeah. So that's But we were talking before, before we started, I was just saying about my New Year's resolution is to get this podcast off the ground. And so I'm redoing my office, and so I'm going to move a good bit of my Star Wars stuff, which also includes 2 computers down here, just to make it more functional. Because like right now, if I want to edit something, I got to run upstairs and put it on the heavier machine. So I'm going to try to make it like a one-stop shop, and get us on Anchor FM and stuff. That's the plan,
Will it be complete with its own place? Because right now,
its own feed. It'll be on its own feed. And Anchor does video and audio. So
we're sticking with the Inflatable Falcon as our.
Why not?
Okay.
Why not? I mean, it could. I don't know.
We've made it this far.
The name, the naming. I don't want to say I was burnt, but the naming of the podcast is somewhat difficult because, like, when we named Zoe's, right? We talked, we kicked it around and this and that, and we finally settled on Star Wars Geek Girl, and then we recorded like 3 or 4 episodes, and I started posting them up, and then like episode 6, she meets Lizzie. Star Wars Geek Girl is now Star Wars Geek Girls, and I'm like, I couldn't get Star Wars Geek Girls at the time for, I think it was like a I don't know. I couldn't get all. I was like, oh man. So you know what I mean. The naming is just, I don't know.
Well, we ran into that. We ran into that problem with our first name.
Yeah.
So when I met Anthony shortly afterwards, we talked about the idea of a podcast, and we wanted to pay homage to the people who'd created Star Wars and the people who were inspired by Star Wars to create stuff. So we thought of Thank the Makers, and we dragged our feet. And a week or two before we recorded our first episode, somebody came out with another podcast called Thank the Maker. Like, son of a...
I know. And I listened to that podcast the other day, and I like it, but I feel guilty listening to it. Like, this is Ken's name.
And then we ended up shifting from Makers when we got Demetrius on board, and we shifted it to the forces behind Star Wars.
Yeah.
I just had the Beskar bucket.
That's a good one.
I just kind of kicked that one. I kicked that one around. I'm like, yeah, it sounds good enough. I like D&D. I like medieval type stuff. It fits. It works.
Yeah, I think the alliteration. I think it's just a good one. John, you're wise beyond your years when it comes to picking names.
And I like your story of how it connects to the prancing pony. So
yeah,
yep. So actually, there is a little bit deeper to that. It was actually what originally tipped me off to it. Wasn't the prancing pony came after this one. So the very first time I ever played D&D, it was just a one-on-one. It was me and the DM. He was like, "Hey, I want more people. I want more friends like our age to play this with." And I was like, I'll do it. So I in-game bought a tavern and renamed it to the Squinting Halfling. So, and I was when I was kicking around the idea of starting a podcast, I was talking to one of my buddies, and he was like, "Yeah, you remember the Squinting Halfling? Remember how you were so proud of that name?" And I'm like, "That's a great name for a podcast." So that's the origin of the Beskar bucket and how the name came to be.
Nice. So if you do a D&D episode in your future podcast, you could do a temporary name change on the graphic and call it this,
Squinting Halfling.
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, if you want to talk D&D with someone, you should talk to Zoe. Like that's like I would say second to Star Wars in her college life. That because I have a mixed feeling about all you young and D&D people, because I just remember what I had to go through to play D&D. Like we were like right above teenagers doing drugs. They were like, "Oh, well, they're not doing drugs, but they are playing D&D. Get the
witchcraft."
Yeah. It was
El Diablo.
Yeah. So I feel happy and sad, and I understand the gatekeeping community a little more when I see people playing D&D. Not that I approve of gatekeeping, but now I understand why certain people get a little gatekeepy with stuff.
That's when you just need to start throwing rocks at the young kids that you see playing D&D.
Yeah.
I can say that because I've gotten out of D&D. I haven't played in 4 or 5 years. So yeah, by all means, anyone my age and you see them playing D&D, throw books at them, throw rocks at them, call them nerds.
Well, they don't even we at least had our own smell, because we played for 20 hours straight. We smelled of Taco Bell and whatever food someone had.
Jolt Cola.
Yeah. Now they're they look like they're no, I'm just kidding. But no, I love that name. And I like your name too, Ken, with all that. I was talking to a guy. So this was going to be my first segment anyway. I was thinking of just talking about podcasts in general, because it's the end of the year. This is we'll have one more. I was invited to your show Tuesday night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Anthony sent me an invite.
Oh,
So
okay.
I think Anthony thinks I'm a little better than I am, but I'll go with it.
Win's a win.
So, but
Wait, did he tell you what our show is going to be about?
I have no clue. He just sent me an invite. So for all I know, it could be like, we're going to have a jackass on, and we're
We're gonna
It's
grill
it's
him.
yeah, it's hazing the old man.
Yeah,
Or
we're going to
actually,
make fun
just
of
to
him.
give you a heads up, it's a recap of 2022 and predictions for 2023.
Nice. Well, I was thinking of maybe with us having a trivia. Remember that trivia game we played where people would steal your points? Possibly promoting a trivia one for Wednesday because there might be more people out and about that are off, you know.
That's a good point.
So who
We can get
knows?
Zoe to host it, maybe.
Yeah, I'll talk to her. She's working.
What?
It's Dutch Wonderland's Winter Wonderland.
I guess that makes sense.
So
Tell her to take 3 hours out of her day.
she cannot.
Join her dear old dad.
Well, my dear old kids need dear old money.
Yeah, but Dutch Wonderland's not open 24 hours a day.
No,
Right.
I don't know when they're. I don't. I think they're open till like 9 or something like that. So, yeah. Well, I'll get some trivia made. But yeah, because I was just thinking back about this year, and I'm gonna reach out to Colin because I'd like to get the Karita Cast back up and running. Like, because if we can get a rein on this, which is I love our super long shows, but I think for our show to move forward, it has to become listenable to the average person.
We need a 90-minute cap.
Yeah, because my podcast feed gets filled up, and
I've been trying to convince you guys of this, and trying to convince the forces behind Star Wars makers of this, that take our stuff and divide it in half.
Yeah.
So each time we record, we're actually recording 2 shows.
Well, I think that's a good idea, and that's my one soundboard fell through. I was building a soundboard, so I'm still working on that because I'm trying to get it to run on this old iPad, and then I'll have it wired in through the board. But if we put cuts and breaks, because it's hard to, like, I was trying to cut up our first episode we ever did of this. There's nowhere to cut it, like, because we don't have any, like,
organization.
Yeah, it's like
themes,
unless we just have a
coherent thoughts.
And I was thinking of recording at the beginning, saying this is part 1 of an episode. It will just end and listen. Like, I was like, how am I going to tell people that this monstrosity is going to be cut up? So
it's something you have to prep for it.
Yeah, and I like the open format podcast. There are some I listen to a few that are scripted, but the open format can't be nearly as open as we want it to be.
Mike, we had an episode that was almost 4.5 hours long.
I know, and that's good, but it's unmanaged. We need to see.
That's longer than Avatar: The Way of Water. I just want to say that out loud.
Yeah,
we need a producer, or something. That's what we need, like someone to crack the whip. But but that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm hoping for the new setup. Then I can again. If it doesn't, because it's fine if it's 4 hours, if I can hit a button and it still gets put somewhere, but if it's 4 hours and then I have to download it and then I have to edit it, I'll get better with it, but I need to get that part fixed, because that's sometimes the hardest part, the putting it together part. So, but that
also helps us to be able to come prepared each time we record. So if we know that on this night we're going to talk about the costumes of Andor and the latest trailer of the Bad Batch, if we know that that's where we're going to start, we have the ability to focus our conversations around, to have some natural breaks, and still have that place to veer off into vegan recipes and car repair.
Yeah. Well, and I also thought if we did broader topics like that, and then we don't tell each other what we're doing, we still prep. So then that gives 2 out of every, like, so when you bring up your thoughts, Ken, if we say, we're going to talk about Andor episode blah, 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 and then you come in and you're like, hey, I wanted to talk about the locations and the background, blah, and I say, oh, I want to talk about the blasters, and John wants to talk about vegan recipes. Then we have a 3,
Yeah.
Though I'm sure I'm going to get some Christmas cards about vegan recipes because my students were asking me about vegan recipes. So I'm looking forward to a new round of mean Christmas cards tomorrow.
Here's your vegan recipe: ice water and wood chips.
No, yeah,
It's
so,
plant-based,
but yeah, no, I was just thinking about podcasts a lot this week because I was thinking about us, and I was like, if someone would have told me the day before we recorded our first, whatever we wanted to call it, that we would still be doing it in December, and we would be, I really got to go back through it. We have missed very few weeks.
I think maybe 3.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
I know at least 2 because we did 2 episodes. Ken and I did 2 episodes of the Beskar Bucket,
Right.
and then we just did the Forces Behind Star Wars,
Right.
in place of the Inflatable Falcon a couple weeks ago.
Right. So if someone would have told me that, I would have been like, yeah, that's not going to happen. You know, it's just, so we have the hard part done. So, and then I was thinking about, they just did the giant 501st pod, whatever, this
I thought
past
that was
weekend.
this weekend.
No, this past weekend.
Oh, it was this past weekend?
Yeah, so they just did that, which was really, I jumped in on a few. It was really good. They had a good line of guests and stuff like that. And I just thought, because I think the 501st cast was one of the first Star Wars podcasts that I listened to regularly when it first came out. Like, I listened to a bunch of other ones, but I didn't really, you know, and that was a really, it was just really neat to listen to that. And like, I used to listen to 501st cast, and and I would recommend you guys, well, you're not in the 501st yet, Ken, but when you get in, but even John, I would recommend anytime you troop, you should write it up and send it to the 501st cast, because they'll read it. It's just neat. It's just neat to get your garrison recognized and stuff like that on a national level or a worldwide level. But it was just neat hearing all that. And then I was thinking about you and me, Ken, where we, you know, our meeting was happenstance because I literally just was driving Zoe to the armor party. I don't think I would have come any other, you know.
Well, John knows how I feel about that.
Huh?
John knows how I feel about that. The Force works in mysterious ways.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, heck,
John and I, we broke every rule I teach my students, and I met someone on TikTok. You know, that usually ends in friendship or murder. You know what I mean?
Look,
and a hospital
if you hadn't sent me tickets to Steel City with your name on it, I probably would have never met you.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it just was one of those weird, and I just, because I saw John's 3D printing and I saw his Mando, you know, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
You probably thought, wow, this is a very non-threatening 21-year-old.
Well, you know, I teach with people from ages 21 to my age, and so as a teacher, you just tend to, you look at people more is what they do. You know what I mean? Like, the age becomes irrelevant to us, you know, to a certain point. Mm-hmm. And I just liked your stuff, you know, and it's just funny. And then, you know, it's just like it's almost like I want a Venn diagram of, so then Ken met Anthony in a toy store of Target, that's even more amazing than any other meeting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was there. Heather and I go there on Friday night date night, and we just happened to be in the toy aisle and bumped into Anthony and his wife.
And that's just funny. That's just, and you know, and then I became friends with that guy. I ran into Anthony when we were over there for Celebration. And you know, it's just neat. It's just neat how we met people, and we just got to get Anthony in a costume though.
Like, magic.
I still think because it's always, I finally got my boss at work to get a 3D printer, and he's like 6'6", and I've been trying to get him to do a Vader forever. So I'm hoping the 3D printer is like his gateway drug to start on a costume. Because he'll email me, what can I print? Like he just wants to print stuff. You know. And so I've been slowly. I sent him to Michael Badley's page. I was like, look, you can get some droids here.
Well, see that's where you start taking not taking advantage. I don't want it to sound nefarious, but like, oh, how about these things? Because I know you need them for this costume.
Yep.
So you lead him, you guide him down that path, and before you know it, he has a whole set of stuff for his costume.
That's what I'm saying. Like I was the last time I trooped, it was just you forget how much fun it is sometimes because the in between time and the politics of it all. And I just think of how all these people I met. Like I met Marty through the 501st. I would have never met Marty ever. I would have never met Dan. I would have never met 90% of the people I know. You know, I met Sal through making literally had pictures of his wife printed off hanging up in my garage when I was building Zoe Sabine costume. You know, so
make sure you clarify like.
There needs to be some context there.
Yeah. So there are pictures of his wife in
Sabine. Yes.
And
yes.
Yeah. Not just pictures of his wife.
Yeah.
Sal, hopefully you know that we're being respectful and kind, not creepy and weird.
He's put up with my nonsense for so many years that he understands that, he gets random texts from me and he understands that sometimes they're somewhat incoherent depending on the time of day. Because sometimes I'll think of stuff and it'll be like 3 a.m. and I'll send him a message and then he'll be like, did you mean this? I was like, oh yeah. That's what I meant. So, but yeah, I just was thinking that in the podcast. I was on, have you guys been on the Pop Culture? I think it's Pop Culture on Facebook. It used to be Rogue One podcast. Rogue One, it was called WON. There was a podcast called Rogue One. No. And then they turned it to a pop culture webcast called, I think it was just called Pop Culture or something like that, or Pop Culture Hour or something. I don't know. And then I think they stopped their podcast and they just do like a Facebook group. But I was on there and there was a guy talking about starting a podcast and people were giving him advice. And I was just like, just start. Like people were like, oh, you need to go buy a computer. You need to buy this. I was like, look, just if you want to start one and just build it as you go. It's one of the few things, a podcast is one of the few things you can build the plane while you're flying it.
And we've proven you don't have to be talented to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I love you guys, we're not that talented.
We're pretty far from professionals.
I don't know though, John. I think out of the three, like I think Ken has that good research thing, but John has that good interview voice. Like you might have missed your calling there, John. No, because you have a good sounding and you have good questions. Like I have to talk a certain way, or if I'm not careful, I come out across like Kermit the Frog. So,
hold on. Can you turn the filter off for a sec so we can hear it?
That's from years of teaching. My students will say, my students are like, Mr. Hinton, you sound like somebody. And then like, a week into teaching a new group, oh, it's Kermit, like out of the blue, Kermit the Frog. Like, so, you have pretty thick skin after teaching middle school students for a while.
Middle schoolers are the most brutal kids ever.
I always laugh at new teachers that start crying. Like the first week of school, they'll be crying. Like, what are you crying about? Because I always tell my students, I love my students, but I always tell them, I didn't really care what middle school students thought when I went to middle school. I really don't care what middle school students think of me now. So, I had to go through the IZOD years. Ken, you're just a little too young, but I remember when like the middle class was inundated with IZOD, like you had to have the alligator shirt, and so you had to go home and tell your parents or grandparents, hey, can you buy me a polo shirt? Oh, and it's $50 where you can normally get one for $8.
See, we had Bugle Boy and Z Cavarici and Guess. Those were the big ones when
I was after we had Jordache jeans came out.
Thanks to Brooke Shields.
And then we had IZOD. And then in the late 80s, we had Hobie, and OP.
OP, yep.
And then every knockoff, and I always wound up getting the knockoff or in Reading we had the outlets, like real outlets. So you'd go and get like a pair of like Lee jeans, which were almost Levi's, and like one leg would be shorter than the other, or it'd be missing like one belt loop, so. And which is even worse than having no names. But
So
anyway.
our podcast has become the retro hour.
Right. No, but it comes back to what we were talking about, D&D and all that kind of stuff, and it all comes around, goes around. Like we have a D&D movie. Like we're gonna have a D&D episode when that movie comes out.
I'm so excited.
I mean, like that if you wanted to say excitement for 2022, that's probably one of the movies I'm looking forward to the most.
Oh, there's so many.
I mean,
there's so many in the first half of the year that I'm psyched for.
Yeah. But the D&D, like I saw an owlbear, a digital owlbear. Like one of the first creatures I ever fought in D&D was an owlbear in Keep on the Borderlands, and I'm going to see an owlbear.
Yeah, not just an owlbear, but a incredibly beautifully rendered owlbear.
Yes,
that transforms on screen.
An incredibly accurate owlbear too, no less. It's not to get too far off topic, but if I could just say, for the record, I think the attention to detail and the love for the source material is going to blow people away. It's going to confuse a lot of the normies, but for nerds like us, it's going to be something else.
It's almost going to be the early years of Star Wars where the normies are going to have to lean into the nerds. Like when I first saw Star Wars, the nerdiest we could get was we could be that guy's name is, whatever the stupid names Kenner give the figures. Like that guy's name's Hammerhead, but that's all we had, but the D&D, the source materials. And it is funny because I think because D&D and even Star Wars and all that were so like an underlying current of subculture for a while, and I think there was a certain demographic of people like D&D lends itself to college students or people not necessarily that are going to college, but people are in that transitional part of life where they have lots of time, but not tons of money. So you can sit and play D&D for hours and hours, and now you have to have a lot of money because I think the books are like $60 a book or something like that. But
I luckily have. Well, granted, I'm pretty sure they're making a 6th edition now.
Yeah.
I have all of the necessary books for 5th edition.
Yeah,
I'm done spending money on books.
And also, I have all the original. I still play with original, and I have 2nd edition. But also because of loopholes in the sale from Wizards of the Coast from TSR to Wizards of the Coast, there's a couple companies making the original D&D. You can buy it, and it comes just like D&D. Because someone didn't get a non-compete clause signed or something. I don't know how that works, but And Zoe's putting together a Star Wars D&D game. So she has all the stats to convert the characters to D&D characters, but you play D&D mode, but you play Star Wars characters. So,
I'm assuming it's probably 5th edition.
I have no clue. They play a hybrid like we just play a mix of a whole bunch. I have a Google Drive. I'll have to share it with you of tons of D&D books that were already scanned in PDF by archivers. So because I have a I think it's a D20 account, an online account you can play online.
Yeah.
So anyway, but again, it goes back to what I'm looking forward to this year. Podcasts. I have to I'm trying to think. Dad Batch right now is still one of my favorite podcasts right now. That's like and then I saw, Ken, that you jumped in on Kerwin and Keith's. Yeah.
Had to wish that little guy a happy birthday.
Yeah. Well, and his mom, I think his mom works in marketing, and so they have that show on lock too, man. They put out for a 10-year-old boy. He puts out a lot of
11.
material.
Yeah, 11.
He's 11 today.
He's 11.
Yes, 11 today.
And not just that, but you got some great people that are already aware of that little guy.
Yep. Oh yeah. Well, he was on the stage.
ILM sent him a little shout out.
Yeah, he was on stage, the podcast stage. before me and Zoe. So, you know, like it was him and then us. So that was pretty cool too. We got to watch him and then they stayed for us. And it was just as good as when he was in Philly too. The Philly stage was way nicer than the celebration stage. Celebration stage, they just give you some mics. Was that Fan Expo in Philly?
Fan Expo Philadelphia.
Fan Expo, man, their podcast. I'm gonna try to sign up for that next time.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Well, and maybe they'll bring an inflatable Falcon for us.
That would be spectacular. Because Zoe couldn't get us one while she was out in California.
No, well, she's saving to go back. I just thought of something. Is our feed going on to Facebook? Because my feed was not working last time. But okay, so that's it for that. What Star Wars news do we have, Ken?
Well, have you seen the trailer for Bad Batch? One of the things we had talked about a little while ago.
Yes.
What did you think of it? Was whether you had seen it or not.
Yes. Have. So what did you guys think? Since you guys had to wait because I hadn't seen it.
Ken, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just super excited to see their new armor.
Oh yeah.
Because that's one of the things I find very amusing about the animated shows. How much time, effort, and energy they put into making the costumes different from season to season.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what happens to Cody after Revenge of the Sith finally. I mean, we have gotten every single one of like the fan favorite clones except for Cody, the OG, the original. We're finally getting to see what happens to him after Revenge of the Sith, and that's what I'm most excited for.
Yeah, well, that's what I am I guess I'm curious because that video didn't really show anything. It's definitely after the everything, but it's also his armor's different. But I wonder how soon after. Because they're the only thing you have to say is they're very tricky with their with how they edit stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, especially for trailers. Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah.
My guess it's not going to be too far after the events of the first season, but not like immediately thereafter.
Yeah, because in the trailer, Omega's, kind of a badass.
That's true. That's
true.
true.
She was just beginning to pick up some of those skills by the end of the first season.
Right. I don't think it's several years, but at least a year. Somewhere in that vicinity.
I mean, because I wonder, you almost can't have Cody turn good though. Other than a sacrifice, because he wasn't around when they found Wolf and
Gregor and Rex.
And yeah.
Yeah.
And I wonder if Wolf's going to be in it. Like, I wonder if we're going to find out like why, because the Empire knew they were there.
That's true. I mean, and by that logic, we might get Gregor too.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we saw the Republic Commandos last season.
Because I still think there's a clone story that needs to be told about the treatment of the clones when they're done. You know what I mean? Like, they haven't really talked much about that. They alluded to it in Kenobi. You had a down and out clone.
I mean, you also kind of saw it at the end of season 1 of the Bad Batch when they were blowing up Camino.
That's true.
And you see the complete lack of empathy for any of the clones on that bridge. They're like,
Right.
yeah, just torch it all, and then you see the clones just kind of like, but this is home.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just curious how that. I'm just curious how that's going to play out. That's my.
Well, there are two parts to that for me. So there's the piece of what happens to the clones, to your point, and in terms of their participation in the military and that part of Star Wars, and are they going to make any reference at all to their advanced aging? Like, does that advanced aging go until their end, or does it stop at a certain point and then they age at the normal rate?
Right.
Because we now know, or we've been led to believe, that Rex was in Return of the Jedi.
Right.
So is there a point in time where that technology of advanced aging stops and they just age like everybody else, allowing them for it to make sense for Rex to be in Return of the Jedi?
Yeah.
And
Right.
did some of the other clones rebel against their programming and escape from military service? Were they forced out? Were they slaughtered? I mean, what's
Yeah.
their end
That's what I'm
story?
curious. I'm curious if they were just like, were they just fodder? Like it was just like, okay, well, send them in first, and then we'll, or were they just literally just killed? And then that also makes me wonder: are we going to see Rex's death in Ahsoka? Like, are we going to see Ahsoka visit like a elderly or dying Rex? Because Ahsoka's arc begins with Rex kind of giving her advice in the Clone Wars movie. And is his arc going to end with him, his life ending with him giving her advice?
Because I mean, he also showed up in Tales of the Jedi.
Yeah.
He and Cody. I think Cody was in that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I'm glad they put Cody in there, because I think if you're going to have Cody, I think you have to be I don't know how to say this without being too gatekeepy, but you have to be a certain tier of fan to watch the Bad Batch. Like your casual Star Wars fan is probably not watching the Bad Batch. So this way, if they put Cody in there, if someone just happens to see it, it gives them a little more connective tissue.
Well, I think with any of this, with any of the Star Wars, whether you're talking about Andor, Bad Batch, whatever, wherever you jump in, and it gives you so much stuff to go and fill in the blanks from where you started, either to go back to get their story or to stay with it and learn what comes next.
What if the clones become Death Troopers?
I don't know.
That would be interesting.
No, but I mean, what if they're like, they're like, well, they try to mutate them a little bit, and they're like, well, and they put them, they can't talk, so just put them in this, and we'll give them this special decoder,
I'm very curious to find out what's happening on that mountain that they showed at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
And so here's a silly question that you guys may not have an answer to, but it'll be fun to get your responses. So this is season 2 of the Bad Batch. How many seasons do you think that they have in store for us?
4.
Because now with Disney Plus, they don't have to worry about finding a place that will show the show like they had to do with the Cartoon Network or Disney XD or whatever. Now with Disney Plus and the streaming service, they can make as many seasons as they want. So how many seasons do you think they have in mind or in store for us?
I'm guessing 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 3 or 4.
I'm just looking at like Rebels, and that seems like a good number, because you don't want to, like, even when I talk to people now, and you say, oh, you should watch Clone Wars, and they look at all those seasons and they seem overwhelmed, where you look at Rebels and they're like, oh yeah, I'll watch Rebels, not that the Clone Wars isn't worth every episode, but I'm saying as a business model, they want enough that you can be committed to it, but not too much that you're not willing to start it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because then they could do 4 seasons, and then they could take those same models and the same whatever, and just come up with it. Because technically, we can call it the Bad Batch, but it's really continuation of the Clone Wars. I mean, it's the same model, same people. And when they call it something different, because if they were like, well, this is Clone Wars season, 11 or 14 or 25, it sounds way more daunting. That's my thoughts on the whole.
Yeah, it's Clone Wars seasons 8, 9, 10, 11. The same way that Ahsoka is Rebels, season 5?
Right.
Season 6? Something like that?
Well, see, I don't know about that because with Rebels, she didn't really play a huge role in it. There was much more to that show than just her.
Right.
She was peppered in there. And so I think that's one of the great things about what they've done is they've have chosen characters that have become well established and continue stories that are related to this greater galaxy, but not necessarily a continuation of the existing story.
Right. Well, and that's what's nice when you change the name. You can send it in a little bit of a direction. Like the Bad Batch is the Clone Wars, but it's really focusing on those clones.
Yeah. Well, the reason I say that Ahsoka is, season whatever of Rebels is because they're going to use Ahsoka to finish that last little bit of Rebels. Where did Thrawn and Ezra go? And what happened to the Ghost crew after the rebellion?
Now, here's another question. If The Mandalorian wasn't the success it was, season 1, would there have been a better chance of Ahsoka being an animated show?
100%. I don't think there would even be a chance that would be live action.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think between the volume and the success of Mandalorian, at some point, especially with the volume, it's almost like live action animation.
Yeah, to a certain degree, yeah.
Because if they were going to, if you take the volume out of it, and they were going to film The Mandalorian, think of all the they would have never been able to have Grogu in season 1 and kept it hidden. If they would have had to go out and film in all these things, they would have had to film like the first episode and then waited till it came out and then filmed the rest to keep him secret. Nowadays. There'd be pictures of Yoda, and they'd be like, there would be podcasters there. There must be a flashback where they would have been, he's going through the world between worlds. Kathleen Kennedy ruined Star Wars. They're going back to baby, like the old story. If you had a time machine and you go like kill baby Hitler or something like that, they're like, he went back in time to get baby Yoda or something. That'd be the whole speculation.
Do you think we'll see the world between worlds with Ahsoka?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like they're going to use it for nefarious reasons. That's my biggest worry about it. But I think we'll see it regardless of what they use it for.
I was thinking it might be used as a way to get a flashback without getting a flashback. Like a almost like a temptation. Like her temptation of the dark side, because at a certain point, stuff like that. But I'm just looking forward to Sabine in it, to be totally honest with you. That's and all the Mandos.
Did you guys hear the rumors about the casting of Ahsoka?
The young Ahsoka.
Yeah, they're gonna have 3 different actors.
That's pretty cool, though.
And then, of course, as we know, Hayden Christensen will be in it.
Yeah.
So.
And maybe that's to Mike's point. Maybe that's some of the stuff that shows up in the world between worlds.
Right. That's what I mean. Like because I feel like she's going to have to almost have, which I know people didn't like it to a certain point, but she's almost going to have some of those points that were in the book of Boba Fett where you see these life-changing events and he had to come to grips with it. I think she's going to have to. I think they're going to have to show her coming to grips with what happened to Anakin. You know, like and stuff like that. And I you know, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. But again, I'm looking forward to the Mandos. I'm looking forward to seeing live action Sabine making that costume probably. And
well, I asked this question of Keith and Kerwin, and I'll ask the same question for you guys. Do you think we'll see Boba Fett in the Bad Batch?
Yes.
Probably. I at some point I think so.
I think just because I think the Alpha character is, you know, being the he's basically the perfect whatever unaltered male and she's the unaltered female. I think it's just like destiny almost. It's like you can't write that stuff except they actually did. So
yeah.
I mean, I don't think any Boba Fett is a bad thing. I think everyone, even people that were disappointed in the Boba Fett series, which I was not, but I think even people that were disappointed in that are going to still chime in.
Yeah, because one of the things we haven't really got from Boba Fett or related to Boba Fett yet is what led him from childhood to the Boba Fett that we saw in the original trilogy. You know, we know he spent a lot of time with Aura Singh and other poor adult figures, parental figures that taught him bounty hunting and stealing and these sort of things. So what are some of the other things that happened to him up until he fell into the Sarlacc?
I would love to see him meet up with Beckett. Beckett's giving him his weirdly odd advice, you know.
It'd be fun if we could if we saw Beckett, talking about wanting to play the Valacord.
Yeah. And then what was Aura Singh? He didn't kill her. It was the fall.
It was the fall. Yeah, it was the fall.
So, yeah, I mean Hondo, you could be in there. I just think Boba Fett to me would be even in passing. I mean, not passing like in Rogue One where you saw, the guys going to the canteen to get his arm chopped off. But I would like to see more than in passing that way. But I do think they have him set up to see Boba Fett, and I'd love to see Daniel Logan do the voice.
Yeah, that would be cool.
My true Boba Fett story. I would love to see Boba Fett, a story with him in the white armor, like a reason why. You know what I mean?
Make it canon finally.
Just make it canon. Like he just got it painted and it was still wet and he had to go in battle and it all got washed off and it's back to he put the low ride inward tilting tires on Slave One. Well,
it's unfortunate that they never finished those episodes of the Clone Wars that they showed them at 1 year celebration.
Yeah,
I don't remember which year it was.
The animatics, they had them on StarWars.com for the longest time.
Because they're there. I mean, there was even that little duel / shootout with Cad Bane that showed up sort of kind of in the Book of Boba Fett, but it was different when he was a youngster.
Yeah.
Because it also makes me wonder, like, would they bring folks like is Quinlan Voss still alive during this time period?
Yeah. Sal was talking about this on one of his podcasts, but there was something because I believe he left the Order after the Dark Disciple.
Oh, okay.
I think he kind of left on the same way that Ahsoka left, kind of. He just, but yeah, I think he's still, and I think his markings were on in the Kenobi series
in the way, right, or in the path,
in the
or
way.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So that would be a good buddy movie. Him and Hondo, Quinlan and Hondo.
I think Hondo would just make any movie a good.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Which I still think Hondo's going to have. They put him in. They made the robot Hondo in Disney, so they're pretty calculated with what they put in what, And I know a lot of people don't like him, but Johnny Depp to me would still be the best Hondo. In makeup.
Who did Hondo's voice? I forgot.
I don't remember. I saw. I think I saw his. He must have just been on a podcast or something because I saw his picture not too terribly long ago. He wasn't what I expected. These voice actors are super talented.
Yeah, I mean, look at the lady that does Ash Ketchum.
Yeah.
I mean,
so yeah, that's what I got this year. I mean, and then they listed they did that little trailer thing of all the shows coming out, which didn't really show anything. They were basically stills. Like Skeleton Crew. They had a little thing for Skeleton Crew. At a certain point with some of this stuff, I'm trying not to overthink any of it. Because I just don't want to accidentally spoil stuff in my own mind. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like you just think about it. I don't want the thought to cross my mind that actually spoils something. So
Jim Cummings.
There we go.
And he's done a bunch of different voices.
Yeah, they have a lot of guys that do. All right, I'm going to turn this to Costume Corner because I want to talk about our Mando build. So right now I have 3D printed shoulder bells, all the chest armor, back armor as one piece. I can't believe it printed as one piece. I printed the butt and I'm printing the hips right now. I just got a bottle of liquid resin. I'm going to try to do some of the leg and details in the seat. I'm just going to try one more time to get this liquid resin printer just to make them smoother and less cleanup time. But the hip armor, though, I have to look at. I got to talk to John when he gets back. But I was looking at the hip armor and I was like, I wonder if I should mold that and do it in rubber.
I think that's a bet. I think on the show that's what they'd used.
Yeah, so I might do that because one of those takes a day and 14 hours. And it might just be just as easy. I probably have enough. That's an easy mold.
Are they ambidextrous? So you print one.
Yeah, they're the same. John,
absolutely. Yep, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I had my headphones on. I could still hear.
Okay, so because then I can mold it, and then I'm not selling it. So, and the hip armor is actually coming from 3 Demons, so I can make molds of it. So, but then we could all have a set of the rubber armor. So, and then I'll do the legs. I'll do the Ken. Would you want battle damaged leg armor, the upper leg, or non-battle damaged? I mean, I can print both, but for the initial run, do you want battle damaged or not?
Yeah, I'll go battle damaged.
Okay, and then I can print the other ones later. I want to get us a whole. I almost want to get it all in a box, so we'll each have a box of all the parts, and then we figure out where we go from there.
Yeah.
Wait, Ken, which one are you doing?
The Pinto one. The
And so in the upper leg, in the thigh, I didn't print the battle damage chest piece, but I have the file for it. But the thigh has a blaster scar on the thigh. Is that the thigh? Yeah.
Are you talking about where it looks like just like a big old glob?
Yeah.
Across the middle. So that is the Beskar right thigh.
Right, the big one. Yeah, the bigger one.
Right.
Right.
So he only had the battle damaged one when he got his Beskar armor because he got it repaired.
All right, then I'll do it smooth.
Okay.
I'll do it.
I guess that answers that.
That's good. We have an expert.
Thanks, John CRL.
Fairly confident.
Well, I have files for both, and like I said, once I get us a whole box of all the goodies printed, then I'll go back and print whatever else we need for the other. So then I'll probably get the upper legs printed. The upper legs are giving me a little bit of a headache because I'm trying to stand them up because I'm trying to make all the print lines go the same way, and when the print lines, if I stand it, it shakes too much. Yeah, so this is the armor we're doing.
Okay.
And so there is a battle damage in there, right? There's like it's like a
So that's weathering. Let me bring up this one. Yeah, this one. Is this what you're talking about right here?
Yeah.
So
well, I don't know. I have to look at the file. I have to look at the file better. But
yeah, because I know when I first printed mine, when I did my season 1 Din Djarin, I didn't use this. This piece because I didn't know what it was.
Okay.
So yeah, that's your best scar.
Yeah, now put that Pinto armor back up. Put that Pinto armor back up. Yeah, so see, whoops, I just turned it off. Sorry. Yeah, those hip pieces, I'm going to print those in rubber then. So.
I didn't use them, honestly. I have them printed. I just never finished them because it just seemed like a pain to walk with.
Yeah, well, if I put them in, if I cast them in silicone and then I pour them in rubber, the same rubber I use for Safi's hands and shoes, they'll be nice and they're really bendable.
I want that to be my first 501st kit.
Really? Oh, cool.
Yeah,
yeah, that's
here. You guys want to see something really interesting with the Din Djarin CRLs?
Okay.
So you see the Durasteel, the season 1 V1 has the knee plate with the knee darts.
Yep. Which I have the file.
Season 1 V2 does not.
Oh.
And then well. Uno momento.
Dios mío.
Does it say who the model is for that armor? Who's wearing it?
Yes. Give me 1 second. I won't get back to it. All right. Din Djarin. Oh, I guess it's the Book of Boba Fett. Book of Boba Fett, he's got his knee plate back.
That's funny.
It's the same knee. It's the same piece.
He just got up late that day. He got up. He had plenty of time to rest that time.
Matthew Hudson, is that what it was?
Oh, okay. I was just
Dundon. Oh, that's who did the photo.
Yeah.
It's who's wearing the armor.
Okay. So I
Pixie Lau.
No, I don't know who that is.
Jason Litzinger?
Don't know. I might know that. I know that name, actually.
Yeah. The Book of Boba Fett is my preferred Din Djarin.
So I'm just going to keep those printing, and then once we get them all printed, then we'll go from there. Vader's, I just put another coat on the bottom. It's just cold weather's killing me. It's I should have redone corner of my basement and I see all these guys with these ventilated spray booths in their house, like it's like a table with like a fan that sucks it all outside and stuff like that. I was like, oh, why didn't I build a room like that? You know, it's like it's spray paint in the wintertime. But that's we're supposed to we'll probably get at least one nice warm day on over break. I'll finish painting my Vader belt boxes. So I got the belt, and the belt's beautiful. So, how about you, Ken? You work on any costumes?
Still working on my Tuscan. So I want to go over to Joanne Fabrics over the weekend and see about getting some monk's cloth. What do you think would be a good material to get for the inner robes? So go look at it first, but go to Lowe's and look at their drop cloths, because it's a tight weave material.
It has to be because the original one was some fancy blanket.
No, the inner ones, not the.
Yeah. What are you looking for? The big robe?
No, that's the monk's cloth that I'm using for that.
No, the inner robe should not be monk's cloth.
Yeah, no, that's that.
Yeah,
I'm asking for
I would for the inner robe. I would go look at the drop cloths at Lowe's or Home Depot. And if you don't like that material, but find a material, I think there's a type of material. I honestly just forget what it's called. It's similar to monk's cloth. It's like a name, and in Joann's near us, it was like a couple bins down from monk's cloth, but it's a something else cloth, and it's like a tighter weave material because you need that texture. You need that different texture because I've seen guys make them all out of monk's cloth, and it doesn't come across well.
Yeah, I even want to have it to be slightly different color too.
Yeah, slightly colored, but it's like I think it's like a tighter weave too.
Dare I visit the CRLs?
Yeah, just to see if they have
They might list the cloth. Look at John, the 501st expert.
Look at me go.
You're like a wizard.
We're looking for the outer robe, correct?
Inner.
Okay.
Go to Studio Creations too, Ken. They have a nice tutorial on how to make the inner robe. They have a very nice Tusken Raider tutorial.
And did you happen to find any of the material from the armor party?
I didn't see any, but I got one more box I just can't find. I have a box of I thought we dyed a whole bunch. I just can't find it. So it's in there.
Because John had spent a whole bunch of time cutting stuff into ships.
Yeah, so I am sure it has to be around. I just can't find it. I moved a lot of stuff when it was cold, and I just stuck them in 12 by 12 boxes. And so there's a whole wall of boxes that are a combination of clone helmets and other things, and I just got to dig through the boxes. I'm gonna build Keith a Rex helmet when he hits 100 subscribers on YouTube. So. And he's getting closer faster than I thought he would. He's at like 630 or something. Oh crap! I gotta speed this up. So, but yeah, I got, like I said, with Vader, I gotta break down and do the strapping on my helmet for Vader. It's like that's what's scaring me because I gotta drill holes into the into the helmet, and I'm like, I just picture ruining my Vader helmet.
Ouch.
And there's no cheap Vader helmets anywhere. Even the crappy ones are expensive. So I got it. I don't know. I've been going through I'm getting ready to go through all my pops. I'm gonna get rid of all that. I'm just trying to get space. I went through a bunch of oddball stuff, and pops are the next victims of the purge here at the Hinton household.
Well, hold on to a couple of them. Maybe we can use that as part of our giveaways for 2023.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to at least give a helmet away. We're gonna have to start researching helmets for our Mando kits too. Because I might just see what Sean charges for a raw cast. Sean Bradley for one of his, because his stuff is so beautiful, But what'd you find out, John?
Studio Creations says that it is where did it go? Yarn-based cloth.
Yeah, it just has to be a tighter weave, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, it says similar to monk's cloth, but thicker threads that make up the weave.
Yeah, and they're not flat.
$13 a yard and 99. What?
How much was it?
Apparently, it was $13 a yard.
Yeah, well, those prices are off because they go by retail. Like if you're paying retail for anything at Joann's, you're not doing it right. They always have a coupon or something. But yeah, there's a cloth, and I just really forget what it's called. I really got to write all this stuff. I'm just names just elude me. But yeah, I got it. And the tip for the gaffy, I'm going to mold that in rubber too. So when I do mold the the hips part. That'll give me a reason to have my silicone out. I'll probably make a mold of that sharp point that sticks in the tip, so you can make it con friendly.
Oh, I just made mine out of wood.
Oh yeah, you have a wooden one. I'm gonna make the plastic one that slides in.
Yeah, so the top end that has the acorn on it, that's PVC. The bottom end is wood, and the fins on my on that end, they're just plastic.
Yeah, that's what Safi's is. Safi's is just PLA, the same stuff. I used to. It's up, prices up now, but that expanded PVC. I mean, man, that stuff was so cheap when I first started building Zoe's Sabine. It was like, I think it was like $15 for a 2x4 sheet of expanded PVC. So
yeah, this is a little denser than that, so it seems more rigid than the
that's good.
The Sintra.
Yeah, well, I what's the other stuff that all the cosplay kids use nowadays? It's not Sintra. It's
not the Warbler, is it?
Warbler. I was at our Michaels and they had rolls of Warbler for 50% off.
Really?
And so I was like, I gotta think about that. It's the because I got to work on these holsters for my my clone, and I was like, I might be able to make them out of Warbler if I make a box. If I made a wooden frame and just melted over a wooden, with a heat gun, I could probably make some decent looking holsters.
I got to figure out how to build my cycler rifle, because I want to have my Gaffy and a cycler rifle for my Tuscan.
I'm telling you, I'll cut you. I can cut you one for this. I have that 6 foot long sight. Mine's gonna be 6 foot. It's almost 7 foot long.
You're not going to cut the whole thing out of wood, are you?
The whole thing is cut. I just had to put a piece of PVC pipe in it because I bought a tip for my router I ran it and it cut a half circle groove in it that the PVC pipe will lay right down in.
Nice. So, you got that at the Ryobi?
My Ryobi outlet. So I'm Ryobi Kenobi.
Kenobi.
Yeah. If I ever plan things out, I probably should just put a camera out in the garage and just film half the stuff I build. So, and then people just laugh at my lack of safety and surprised they still have 10 fingers.
Nah. Safety third.
But did you die?
But did you die?
I just remember cutting the second floor off the girls' playhouse with a circular saw in a thunderstorm, standing on the roof. And I survived that. So don't try that at home, kids. But yeah, that's all I got costume building. How about you, John? You build anything, or you're just working?
I'm just working, trying to survive.
It's that time of year, man. It's probably colder in Ohio than it is here, but
as you know, my dad and I have season tickets for the Browns. Our last game of the year is this Saturday because, God forbid, we play on Christmas Day. So it is projected to be, the temperature will be between -1 and 6 degrees with 55-mile-an-hour winds.
Well, it's nice knowing you, John.
We're not going.
Oh, okay.
So my dad has the flu right now, and he's like, I don't know if I'm going to be better. And it's like, I don't care if you were perfectly healthy. I don't want to go sit in -degree weather after the wind chill. Absolutely not.
Especially considering it's the length of the game plus the halftime plus up. Why?
Yeah, you'd have to almost bundle up that you can't. You'd be in a giant.
I can't put my arms down.
It was 24 degrees last Saturday when we went, and we thought that was cold. And I had 4 thermal shirts, 2 pairs of thermal pants, a pair of pajama pants, jeans, a heated jacket, heated gloves, hat, scarf, net gaiter, the whole 9. I was still cold.
Oh, I got frostbite just hearing all that. Yeah. That's. I mean, I don't know, but it'll be warm and we'll be building stuff here soon enough. So.
Yeah, I'm waiting the winter out. We've got a severe storm coming tomorrow and Friday, so
Are you
We were
expecting
supposed
much
to have
snow?
one. Now it's just rain.
it's going to be rain, then snow, then sub-zero temperatures.
Oh,
So
Slick.
fun.
yeah, it's gonna be fun driving to work on Sunday.
Well, just be careful.
Luckily, I don't work until 2:00,
Oh,
so hopefully the roads are salted and plowed by the time I need to leave.
yeah, our around here they're pretty decent with the roads. And Maryland is the only place I got to worry about because Maryland they don't know how to. They don't have car inspection, so they don't have like you get your car inspected when you buy it, and that's it. So if you don't, you just drive whatever tires and slide around, you know. So Pennsylvania, we're they're pretty strict on our tires. So, but yeah, so that's I mean, what else? I'm trying to think what else happened Star Warsy. Nothing really here. I got Zoe's home, and I think she's either recorded or recording a podcast soon. Any podcasts you guys are listening to? Yeah, we'll finish up the podcast.
I just found one the other day. I think it was called Force Time. I want to make sure I'm giving you the right information.
Oh, I think I've listened to that.
And they recently released an episode about The Last Jedi, and I haven't listened to the whole thing yet. I've only gotten maybe 15 to 20 minutes into it so far, but I'm interested in hearing where they go with it because they're both big Last Jedi fans.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So,
You don't hear too many of them anymore. So
not till I get my new show started.
yeah, well, we're waiting, Ken. We're waiting. No better time than the present.
TikTok,
Well,
Mr. Wick.
I have to again. I have to get on Colin and see if I can get him to start back up too. So
Yeah, you know I don't have the attention span for podcasts.
I
At
know.
least to
Well,
listen to.
you know, there's some good ones out there though. Have you listened to the Dad Batch?
I haven't yet.
I would challenge you to listen to the Dad Batch, and I bet you it'll keep your interest.
How far is your drive to work?
25, 30 minutes.
Try the Dad Batch because they're younger. Well, they're not younger. They're like a whole whatever, but they have it segmented and they talk about costume building and they just have a good pacing. I don't know. What do you think, Ken?
They're organized. They have
super organized.
They have sound clips.
Yeah.
And they're only maybe 30 episodes in or whatever.
The sound clips always worry me with copyright. Because if by some chance you do get so big, you have to go back and take all that stuff out.
Well, if you do it through Anchor and not have the sound clips included in your show, you could put the sound clips in as individual bits, and then if that were to happen, you could take those bits out.
Yeah, I understand that, but just changing the sound bumpers on Zoe's 127 episodes was a nightmare. You know, it was just, and it's funny because as much as Disney catches, gets in trouble, everyone says they're like copyright police and they're always going after people, which they don't. But it is weird though. There are some podcasts that get a little shunning, I guess, because of how they use clips. Like they're good podcasts. So I always just get worked. I just get worried about all that stuff. But the Dad Batch is good. Like I still love their Home Depot / building theme. They have that.
The weekly workbench.
They're the workbench theme. So, but they're good guys. Like I've met 3 of the 4, I believe. I didn't realize I knew I met 2 of the 4 because I'm friends with John, but I didn't realize I met the one person because when he met Zoe, he's like, "Yeah, I know your dad. We met it." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, of course, man.
Well, and listen, there's some people I met at Celebration when Zoe and I were running on like 2 hours sleep and no food for 2 days. I am sure I don't know who they were. You know, that because that one day that first day we were just going. We were just on like energy, and it was like 4 o'clock. We're like, hey, we haven't eaten or drank anything since we've been in California. We should probably, you know. So people are probably like, hey, look who's Zoe's with the Crypt Keeper, you know. So, but I don't know. I'm looking for. I want another con to come up. There's no cons. I was like, I almost wanted to go to Ocean City Con last weekend. I just didn't.
There's one in New Jersey in January.
Oh yeah, where at?
It is. Bear with me. It's called WinterCon.
Oh, that's a good name.
There's Fan Expo Cleveland in March.
Don't say January 21st.
I think it's called WinterCon. It's not WinterCon.
You could always make the trek out to Cleveland. Come visit me. Fan Expo Cleveland.
When's that?
It's the second week of March.
No, well, maybe I'll be coming through there to take Zoe out to California.
That's what I'm saying. I'm sorry, it's the last weekend in March, the 24th, 25th, and 26th.
Yeah, because I don't know how long she's planning on staying here, but she's going to want to take her car. Which means it'll be me and her driving across country in it.
Yeah.
Because $2,000 to ship your car, $2,000 to ship a car that's not worth $2,000 seems like I might as well just, if I'm going to spend $2,000, I might as well, you know, that's cheap. It's cheaper to drive it out and fly back. One of us, not two, not, you know, and that's $2,000. They quote you $2,000. I guarantee you when I get there, okay, it's $2,000 to ship it, but here's $300 to load it on the truck, and this much to this, and I'll be $3,000 in by when it's all said and done.
Here's a $500 security deposit.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, it's my car. Well, it might do some damage to the trailer.
Yeah. Yeah, the 98 bug. She has her car, other than Missy's car, she has a 98 bug that has less miles on it than the rest of our cars.
Wow.
My car will hit 280,000 here any week. I'm still on the original clutch.
How?
I have no clue. It's like one of those things where I'm just like, yeah. But I talked to another guy that has one, and he has 200,000 on his, and he hasn't put a clutch in yet.
I thought 250 was usually the shelf life
on a clutch. That's about $100,000. I mean,
not those Japanese cars.
Well, that's true.
They are built to last forever.
But also, I think when one person drives it, like I'm the only one that drives it.
True.
You know, like Missy had a Suzuki, and I think the clutch went at 90,000. That's the first.
Yikes.
That's the first four-wheel drive / clutch I ever put in. I was like, well, how hard can it be? A day and a half later, the half of it's laying in the garage. Missy came out and she's like, what are you doing? I was like, well, I just had printouts from the internet telling me how to put a clutch in, and it worked. So I had to punch a hole in the wall of my garage, my old garage, to hook a tow cable to a tree in the backyard because we had a steep driveway, and I was worried if I hooked it to the wall, it was going to pull the stud out because it was, you know. So I punched a hole through the soffit and ran a cable up through, and I had to come along because the clutch went out at the base of our driveway, which was about 150 feet, but it was super steep, and so I had to use a come along to pull the Jeep up, and that was a day and a half of pulling just. You know, and of course I had like the world's worst come along. So I was like,
Speaking of come along, it's called the Garden State Comic Fest.
Oh, we're at in
Augusta, New Jersey.
That doesn't even sound real.
And it's January 28th and 29th.
Because I have a robotics competition in DC. January 21st, I think.
I haven't decided if I'm going to that event or not, but if I go, you could come along.
Do they have panels?
I'm not so certain.
Augusta. I'm just trying to look where Augusta, New Jersey is.
Sussex County.
That doesn't mean it. I am terrible with my New Jersey.
Oh, Sussex. Now it makes so much more sense now that you say it.
Where is it? North Jersey?
Um,
South Jersey?
I'd say North
Middle
Central
Jersey?
Jersey.
I'd say it's in Jersey.
Yeah, because like when I was a kid, we learned our maps and stuff, but you would think the world ended outside of Pennsylvania. Like all these.
Oh, it's North Jersey. I apologize. It's actually north of Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. That's how North Jersey it is.
How do you spell that? AGUSTA.
Augusta. Like August. Augusta, New Jersey. Not to be confused with Augusta, Georgia. That's different.
Yeah, I'll put that on the Maps quest. I'll be like, man, this is the longest trip to New Jersey I've ever taken.
Wow, that's almost New York.
Oh yeah, jeez.
Oh, it's north of New York. It's further.
Yeah, because you have to. Yeah, I'm trying to see where it is as opposed to.
It's north of Stroudsburg, even.
Jesus, Murphy.
For me to get there,
when I go to Jordan's, I pass Manhattan.
Yeah, it's up there. Now that I'm looking at it, I don't think I'm going to go.
Yeah, that's like that's like the country bumpkin, New Jersey. You know?
Well, it is the Garden State.
Yeah.
Good point.
Well, see, growing up, we were always just showed pictures of South Jersey. So we always thought of, we're like,
oh, the beach and stuff like that?
Yeah, we always thought of it as beach or just cities. You know what I mean? Yeah, let's see how long it takes me.
It's only 6 hours and 20 minutes without tolls for me.
Only.
Or if I want to take tolls, I can pay $35 and drive for 7.5 hours.
So it takes longer and costs more?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, what a deal that is. Sign me up.
Yeah, it's a straight shot for me, though.
It's 3 hours for me because it's closer than Jordan's shop. But it's 3 hours this time of night. So, if you change that to during the day, it's probably because at least here it takes during traffic just to get out of Lancaster, it adds another 45 minutes.
Jesus. Oh, because you got to go around all the buggies.
Well, no, the highway around Lancaster, Route 30 gets like blocked up. So if you got to cross it or anything, like a lot of times I go right through the city because of that. I'm sure Anthony should have a trip out here soon.
Usually around March, I thought.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, y'all should come visit Ohio. It's not that bad.
Yeah, I might when the weather's warm.
I'm good for a trip to Ohio.
Because really, Pennsylvania, we have Pittsburgh, and then it's basically nothing until you get to Harrisburg. Yeah, I'm trying to think. When we drove to California, we took route. I'm trying to think what we went through Ohio. I think we took route 70.
So it was probably 70 or 76.
Yeah, I don't know. That trip to California was one of the, like, my wife and I both being teachers, we tend to overplan things. That was the one where we literally got in the car and said, okay, Safi, because Safi wanted to stop at Arches National Park. We just put it in the phone and hit go and just went where it said to go. No hotel book, nothing. We just drove.
Well, you got a van.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
You can take a nap in the van.
Yeah. We did all right. We didn't get a hotel till we got to Death Valley.
Wow.
I left Thursday afternoon about 4. We crossed California state line after stopping at Arches National Park Saturday night.
And you didn't get a hotel until
We hadn't got a hotel. We just stopped. I just laid my seat back and crashed for like 3 hours and got back up. Missy drove for about an hour.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do that now, man. I don't know what I was thinking. You can always do something like that once, and because you don't know the you know. That's how I figure out I'll do Survivor when I get my one chance in Survivor.
I'll be right back. The dog's scratching at the door.
Yeah, when I get my one chance in Survivor, then I'll do it one time, and then I'll be like, nah, I can't do it again.
Yeah, I think I burned my long road trips the 2 times that I did the Han Solo Chronicles.
Yeah,
those 40, because I think I did the math. It was 42 and 46-hour days.
Well, like I said, when you don't know what's coming, it's easy the first time.
Yeah,
hyped and pumped, because that's how Steel City was for me for the first time. I drove Steel City, didn't even blink an eye. I was like, oh, this is nothing. And then when we were going like our 5th or 6th time, it was just like, oh, okay, I got to go around this corner, because I take the turnpike because I have Easy Pass, so you get like a discount and stuff. And the Steel City, it adds hours if you go the long way at a certain time. And it was always Friday night when we were leaving. So it was just like, do I want to get in at 3 a.m. or midnight? I was like, okay, I'll just take the turnpike.
Right.
But also when you're going with 4 people and the tolls are a little different than when it's like by yourself, because with the 4 people, you have to be able to stop at a bathroom within X amount of miles, like you can't just be like one. And when we went out west, once we crossed out of Ohio, there were very few rest stops and there was no mini markets. They were just truck stops, and they were hit or miss, and they were far away. So like every time we stopped when we went out to California, anytime we stopped for anything, I filled the car up. Like it just
I don't know how that happened, but like I think it's probably because Ohio, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Tennessee, they are such vast states. They're so wide.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, we need to put a gas station like every 10 miles.
Yeah. Well, and if you look at population, like Pennsylvania is kind of weird because we don't really have many people in the center. But if you look at the way the roads go, some of those roads are old roads, like we're talking hundreds of years old that have just been built on. And then I also think the National Turnpike, so. But yeah, I don't know, I don't know what else we got with Star Wars. I was hoping it came today, but my 3rd installment of my free commercial for my fan home Star Wars stuff is supposed to come today. It's shipped.
Are those the encyclopedias?
Yeah, the encyclopedias, and I should get the Stormtrooper bookshelves. That's what I'm looking forward to. Bookshelves. So
yeah, there's not a whole lot Star Wars going on right now. We've got 2 weeks until we get new content. So,
and the books Zoe just got a couple new High Republic.
Oh my god, how many? I can't keep up with the books, man.
Yeah. Well, the High Republic stuff is good because a lot of those books are easy reads. They're not. They're like the Harry Potter of Star Wars. Like you can kind of just read them. They're easy reads.
Speak for yourself, man. I can't read for anything. I read at like a 3rd grade level.
Well, I never liked reading fiction until the first Harry Potter. I read The Hobbit. I loved The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, which that was back in my D&D heyday, reading them. And we didn't have the internet then. So if you didn't read in the 70s and 80s, like there was a lot of stuff you couldn't do. Like, you didn't have the internet. But when Harry Potter came out, that was like Missy was a language arts teacher. She said you should read this, and I read it. And so then I think like the High Republic books are written that young adult, some of them, and they're just an easy read. Like they're just you can kind of get through them without feeling like you're committing to a giant encyclopedia of reading. So I still have not kept up with the storyline. I've just read bits and pieces of them. But I think I'm hoping that what my dream would be for the High Republic would be the next set of movies or something gets set in that era, and it makes me really want to run back and read them. That's what I hope.
I think Acolyte might do that.
Yeah,
I really do.
I'm hoping they just give enough Easter eggs and cookie crumbs or whatever you want to call it that make me want to go back and read all the books. Because right now I get most of my information from Sal and Zoe on the High Republic. You reading the High Republic, Ken?
I read some of it. Haven't read. I think I may have read the first 2 or 3 books, and I read some of the comics. For me, one of the things that's really, really challenging is there's so much of it. I mean, there's
that's what we were saying while you were gone.
And have you guys picked up the Art of the High Republic book yet?
I have not.
So one of the things I find really incredible about it is the High Republic is sort of like Shadows of the Empire, and this is what I mean, is that there were multiple things going on related to it. So when Shadows of the Empire came out, there was the comics, there was the video game, and the toys. Now with the High Republic, so they've got the novels, they've got the comics, they've got the Acolyte coming out, and they put a lot of time, effort, and energy into concept art, even though much of it was literary, much of it was writing novels. So it's incredible to think that much art exists for written Star Wars. And I'm very interested to see if they're going to do anything related to games or anything related to merchandise like toys and things along those lines for some of these characters.
I have this struggle with Star Wars toys lately. I'm when you say High Republic toys, and it just makes me think of, because I've just been going through, like, I'm just trying to make room in my basement for the stuff I want to display, and I just want to see the toys come back for kids. I know that sounds like, I don't know, it's almost like, remember Disney Infinity?
Oh my goodness, yeah. I love that game.
They need to come out with an action figure line that doesn't do anything extra but be an action figure. Just, it holds a pistol and you can point them, and then put a component on that goes with your phone or your tablet or something like that. Like, just,
well, do you remember I don't remember which, it might have been The Force Awakens. They had that app for your phone that had animation, so they had BB-8 rolling across the screen, or TIE fighters coming in and strafing you or whatever. So there was that play in between the digital world and the toys, or the digital world and you making a video yourself. But it didn't seem to gain much traction.
I just feel that because I like seeing the Star Wars toys, but the only ones that have really caught my eye lately are either the really expensive ones that I'm not going to spend money on, like Hot Toys, or I like those new micro whatever, like the figures are like this big. They're like semi-posable.
They're like the Micro Machines.
No, but it's not micro. Is it Micro Machines? Not the real.
It's like it. They're like Micro Machines.
They have like the Bad Batch, and they just came out with the TIE fighter that.
Oh, there's no. So you're talking about the step up above the Micro Machines.
Yeah, they're the
Mission series.
That's what it is. To me, because I look at them and they're like, yeah, that's something I could see myself like putting a shelf together of those. because like the Black Series I like, but if I start collecting them, it's just going to become inventory because I don't have enough space to display them. And I'm getting to that point where I just want I have this dream of how I want all my stuff to be displayed. So like if you come to visit me, I want it to be able to, you can see all my Star Wars stuff and look at it and touch it and whatever you want to, you know. So because I'm trying to organize my cards and patches. I still got a pile here for John. I just haven't picked them up. I have a 501st Christmas ornament somewhere, John, that I'm going to send you and you can have, because we don't really set up a Christmas tree.
Oh,
I bought it years ago and I can't find it. It's in one of my many boxes of Star Wars things.
You set up a Festivus pole?
I did one year. I have a picture of Safi. I took an aluminum vacuum cleaner, an old Electrolux pole, and had Safi holding it up. He was like 4.
Festivus for the rest of us.
Yeah. No, we have a small tree. It's just like Christmas is not. I grew up with my grandparents, so not very, very much. So Christmas always, when I was real little, I thought I was a bad kid because I went to school and all these kids got tons of toys and I got like 2 things. And when you believe in Santa and you get shit, you're like, oh, I must be bad. Santa's really watching me, you know. And then we just never pushed Christmas. And then when the girls were pretty little, I pulled them aside and told them there was no Santa, which I know sounds really mean, but
you're a terrible parent.
Well, because Zoe was always such a kind and trusting person. My biggest fear was at school the kids were going to tell her there was no Santa, and she would have stuck up tooth and nail for me and my wife, saying my parents wouldn't lie to me. And I was worried that would happen to her. And I remember telling them, and I think Zoe was maybe 5 and Safi was 3 or somewhere around that. And I remember Zoe ran off crying, you know, and Zoe and Safi just leaned in and said, "Do we still get presents?" Yeah. And then Safi came back maybe like 5 minutes later, and she said, "There's no tooth fairy either." I said, "No." She said, "Where's all my teeth?" She wanted all her teeth. So,
God, Mike, if it wasn't for the whole vegan thing, I would ask for you to adopt me because I don't care about Christmas either.
Well, no, listen, I have nothing against Christmas, but I also, being a teacher, I see I see what happens to my students, because even not believing in Santa or whatever, if there's financially strapped people, if you're as a teacher, if you get too crazy and you talk about Christmas for weeks to come, and then when they come back from vacation, you ask what they got, you have those kids who really don't have much, and you've just put them on spotlight for the other kids to see. And when I was a kid, they didn't think about that. They just thought everyone celebrated Christmas. Let's talk about Christmas from Thanksgiving till December. And so I try to keep that in mind, not to mention all the people that just don't celebrate it for multiple different reasons. So I always try to keep it. The only Christmas thing I did this year, my kids wanted holiday music today while they were working on a project. So I pulled up the Star Wars Yule log of Darth Vader burning.
No, you didn't.
I did, and I put it on my projector, and they were like, "Is that some Star Wars stuff?" I was like, "Yep." And
Why didn't you play the Miko album like this?
I know, but these are middle school kids that torture me 180 days a year, so they ask for me to have an opportunity to torture them a little bit, so.
They did ask for it.
So you played a funeral fire.
Yes.
Where a man watched his father burn for hours.
He lit it on fire.
I know.
It starts with Luke, and then someone just looped it with Christmas music. It was an hour and 5-minute loop. There's a 4-hour loop of it, just because here at the house we used to put it on Christmas Day. But there's a 4-hour loop with no music. This one, it's like 1 hour and 5-minute loop on Vimeo, which I didn't even know still existed. And I put it on Vimeo, and I had it playing on the smartboard. So it made the kids get their work done, you know. So
you got to find motivation somewhere.
Yeah. So, but we have a lot to look forward to this year. I mean, we the podcast, we will, we'll be like those, those famous people that get discovered in a movie, and then you find out they've been acting for like 30 years. You know what I mean? Like, so, and I would recommend. Did either of you guys, which I know this sounds weird coming from an old guy like me, but any of you guys watch Wednesday?
Oh, it was awesome.
That's a good show. I'm not done. I just started, but I was surprised at how much that reminded me of the old Addams Family.
It reminded me of Scooby Doo.
Oh yeah, yeah. But it just had a lot of throwbacks to the Addams Family, the old Addams Family. Like they just did a lot of good throwbacks. But
I found the Darth Vader Yule log.
You've never seen it before.
I haven't.
Well, you can just play that tonight while you go to sleep, John. You can have it in the background.
So just picture 12 to 14-year-olds doing the schoolwork while that burnt in front of the room.
I think they have one for Qui-Gon Jinn too.
Oh, really? See, I didn't know that. I might not have done that because at least the Vader, it's his helmet. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh my God.
I'm surprised you didn't tell them the story of Krampus.
Yeah, well, I try to stay away from all the other Christmas. That's about as Christmas as I get. Because then they ask me, like, they'll say, "Do you celebrate Christmas?" And I go, "I celebrate Life Day." And they're like, and then my kids just think at my house it's Star Wars 24/7. I'm like, well, we celebrate May the 4th, and we celebrate Revenge of the 5th, and 501st Day, and I just go through all these Star Wars holidays. They're like, they're usually about 3 in. They're just like their looks is telling me to shut up, Mr. Hinton. So
sorry, my employees think the same of me. They think it's Star Wars and Browns 24/7, which is an accurate assumption.
Well, I do have a student that wants to start a Star Wars fan club. So I told him after the new year, because I have a robotics team too, which I stay 2 days after until competition. So I can't, as much as I love my students, I can't stay 3 days for free. But we're gonna try a Star Wars club, and then I think we'll culminate with a view. We have a license at our school to show all Disney films, so we'll culminate with watching one of the Star Wars movies, and I'll probably reach out to the old line garrison and get some guys there, because I still would like. Old Line does a panel for their library events that talks about costuming, and I think that's a missed opportunity for a lot of the groups.
Well, keep me in the loop. Maryland's not too far from me.
Yeah. I am. Our library. Have you done a library event yet with the Mandos, Ken?
Yeah.
Because our library in Pennsylvania, it has to be revamped, but the Old Line one does a really good one because it's usually short and sweet, and trivia can't be an hour and a half long for little kids. Of what's the third moon of Mandalore from the book, Dark Saber. I'm like, what?
But it can be an hour and a half long for us.
Oh yeah, it can be 6 hours long. But I'll work for trivia for Wednesday. I'll probably, since I'll be off school, I'll be able to promote it more, maybe get some more people. Ark popped in for a minute, but he left us.
Haven't seen E-Girl tonight, unfortunately.
No. But
we should try and get some guests.
Yeah.
For trivia next week.
Yeah, I'll reach out to some people. I'll see who, like, I'm trying to think. I gotta see if Sal's available, and see. I don't know. He's busy being a postman, so he's like.
Ask Ned. See if Ned can join us.
Ned? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, like I said, I like that trivia, the Blooket trivia, because you can win even if you don't get them all right. So.
As I proved last time.
Yes.
It's true.
So.
But, well, thanks for another great night, guys.
Yeah. We got to start looking at episode numbers. One last thing: when you are putting your name of your podcast in your podcast title, I was reading a couple places, not just one, that if you put the number in the title, it can throw off the Apple algorithm. So they don't recommend calling your podcast such and such episode this. Because the episode should be placed, like if you use Anchor, it's placed in a separate cell. I don't know how true that is, but I read 2 articles on that they were saying it's not a good idea to put your episode number in the title. So
just the title by itself.
You just have a name, and then you can put it in your description. Just don't put it in your,
not in the title.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. I can't win the algorithm of podcasts.
Yeah, I think we're up to the teens of listeners now with The Forces Behind Star Wars.
Well, that's good.
Anthony had shared some Spotify statistics with us either late last week or sometime this week.
Well, see, Zoe's when we did SoundCloud, Zoe had minimum of, I think it was like 400 listens every episode by the time we left SoundCloud. When we went to Anchor, which we used the same RSS feed, so she didn't lose any of her, you know what I mean? Like if you subscribe, you didn't have to resubscribe. But the Anchor numbers are only showing me between 50 and 100.
Does that just the folks that listen on Anchor?
See, that's what I don't know, because all the podcast hosts seem like they never want to share data because everyone wants you to host on their, so SoundCloud used to give you all kinds of data, but I just got tired of paying like almost $200 a year to host on SoundCloud. So I'm hoping the Anchor stuff, I hope it just backs up. But like Chartable, unless I want to pay money, I can't get numbers for Sound or for Anchor.
Yeah.
And Apple's not any, they're not fun to deal with either. I can't even get Zoe's artwork to change on Apple for some reason. I don't know why. So, but that's
maybe we can get some guidance from Keith.
Yeah. I'm just figure out how much his wife costs and just pay her. I'm saving $200 a year. I can at least get the basic package or whatever. Well, I think a lot of it is and I say this not to I don't mean it in the wrong way, but you have to act like you're bigger than you are while you're doing it. Does that make sense? Like,
oh my goodness, yeah.
Not being a jerk or anything, but you act professional and you act like you're a bigger deal, and you have to embrace other podcasts. I think that's where a lot of podcasts either make it or break it. Like if you
listen to a bunch of them, and I can't even accurately count how many of them claim to be the number one Star Wars podcast.
Right. Well, yeah, but I'm saying if you podcasters. Blogs, podcasts, when they first started, the key thing that made them grow so quick was if you're podcaster A and you have a podcast, you go to the people you listen to and you have podcaster Q as a guest. And you keep that relationship. Because other podcasts are not your competition. Your competition is other things people do. Because if you build this community of, podcast stands for personal on demand. So not everyone's podcast is for everybody. And you just hone out your little niche. And if you find other like-minded people, because that's how I find other podcasts. I hear someone on another podcast. I'm like, well, look, if they're doing their podcast, I might like their podcast. Like I like the Armor Party. I heard him on the Dad Batch. I listened to, I was like, oh yeah, I like his show, and he's out near you, John. I forget he's in the Midwest somewhere. The Armor Party podcast.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and his stuff is really good too. And he has that's okay. And then I'll shut up because I'm doing my okay. United Fandom Network. I think we should have a segment where we talk about podcasts that we think would fit that criteria. because that's what I think people need. They need, because if they don't 100% like us, but we, we can play it forward.
Yeah, we need a website. We
do. Is the Inflatable Falcon? Is that? Inflatable Falcon, that domain is available.
Really? That's a surprise.
Hang on, let me just check, make sure I have it spelled right. Inflate, ABLE, Falcon.com. Yeah, so if I go to Google domain.
Excuse me.
Bless you. Bless you.
Thank you.
Just for the record, John sidetracked us on this one.
Yeah. Hey, the Unifying Fandom Network is also available.
Let's see.
You could always do the unifying.network.
Oh. The inflattablefalcon.com.
And while you guys are looking that stuff up, what are your thoughts on our episode next week being a little bit shorter than usual? Not sure why I'm getting an echo. A little bit shorter than usual, and then spending some time just with the three of us together, figuring out the first couple weeks of 2023's episodes.
That sounds good.
Works for me.
Well, why won't it let me? The Inflatable Falcon. Whoops. .com. Do I want Inflatable Falcon or the Inflatable Falcon?
And I was actually just having the same moral quandary with, do I want the Beskar bucket or do I want Beskar bucket?
I don't know. That's a quandary. Wrapped in an enigma.
Wrapped in a mystery.
Right. Well, I just bought the inflatablefalcon.com and inflatablefalcon.com.
Oh, I love it.
So we have them both.
What about .net?
Huh?
What about .net?
I don't know. .net. How about .gov? No, but so we have. So I bought the inflatablefalcon.com. What's nice about it is we can do more. We'll talk, but there's stuff we can do with that. I figured, what the hell, 12. I can fork over $12 towards our mission of world dominance. So, well, that's it. That's it.
Oh, that's what rebellions are built on.
Yeah.
Hope.
All right. Oh, my live stream. Oh, is it Facebook only lets you do it for an hour?
feel like we had longer shows than that.
No, it says live now, but it says this video has ended. I don't know. I'm gonna end our stream now.